guys, welcome back to The Witcher 3 in the beautiful Toussaint. I mentioned it in the latest Riders Republic video, but I very recently finished the Blood and Wine DLC as well, and with it, everything there is to do in this game. Which means that I can finally start reading the character entries and the bestiary. Needless to say, there will be heavy story spoilers. Let's head into the glossary. Characters. This first entry is of Anabelle. Geralt encountered this young woman's ghost in the uppermost room in the haunted tower on Funguys. She told him that in life she had been the local lord's daughter. When enraged peasants stormed the tower, she feared they would ravage her honor if they found her alive, and so took a magic potion that put her in a corpse-like state of paralysis. When she awoke, she found herself lying amidst the bodies of her family and servants, unable to move. She watched in helpless horror as rats feasted on the pile of corpses and began to nibble on her as well. This grisly death must have somehow put a curse on her and the tower, for her ghost had wandered it in restless torment ever since. Geralt engaged his vast experience with such curses to search for a possible solution. Having learned that Anabelle had loved a simple fisherman named Graham, Geralt decided this man and the bond of true love the two youths shared could be their salvation. Geralt agreed to take the young woman's remains to her love, to have him give her a proper burial. Geralt hoped this would lift the evil spell on the cursed isle and bring Anabelle peace at long last. Sadly, what Geralt took to be the ghost of an innocent woman was in fact death and disease in spirit form. A being known as a Pesta, or Plague Maiden. Having lured Geralt into the open, it killed the unfortunate Graham and then escaped to spread the pox and feed on human suffering. It is possible that this incident caused the local outbreak of Catriona that devastated the kingdom of Carrack, and sowed the seeds of the coastal city's ultimate downfall. Next is Henrietta. If this world has ever known a ruler who enjoyed the absolute admiration of her subjects without the need for systematic repression or a particularly cruel hangman, it was, without a doubt, the sovereign of Toussaint, Duchess Henrietta. Called Henrietta by those who knew her well, she was the widow of the late lamented Duke Raymond, and one-time lover of a very famous and talented artist who would prefer to remain anonymous. A few years prior, when the Witcher and a band of friends were visiting Toussaint, Henrietta had had the pleasure of meeting Geralt of Rivia. When a mysterious beast began attacking her courtiers, the Duchess thus knew exactly whom to summon. While searching for the beast, the Duchess proved that, when the need arose, she was able to throw off the chains of convention and get her hands dirty with direct action alongside the Witcher, even if she had to do so in a state of relative disheveled. Surprisingly enough, the Duchess handled the rigors of the trail as adroitly as she did those of palace audiences. Geralt quickly saw how, even when stripped of her sumptuous gown and wrapped in a coarse cloak, Anna Henrietta remained the same confident and tenacious ruler as ever. Yet then again, this should not have come as a surprise, for the Toussaint court on a daily basis hosted battles of cutting remarks, malicious half-truths, and bald-faced lies that were just as fierce as any fought with sword and cannon. The Duchess was an unchallenged master of this courtly warfare, and the Witcher had the chance to make use of this experience. If Geralt thought the tales of her illustrious grace's implacable wrath were exaggerated, he quickly was shown how greatly he was mistaken. As soon as Anna Henrietta learned the vampire had not only escaped, but had also threatened the life of her sister, she flew into a rage that precluded all discussion. She presented matters very clearly. Geralt was to complete his contract and bring her Detlef's head on a silver platter. Luckily, the Duchess's wrath burned with an intense but short-lasting heat. When Geralt managed to stop Detlef, her grace forgot all about its previous missteps and even awarded the Witcher the Order of Vitis Vinifera, Toussaint's highest honor. Next is Anna Strenger. Geralt did not meet Anna Strenger, the Bloody Baron's wife, when he visited Crow's Perch. Sometime before his arrival, this woman had disappeared in unexplained circumstances, along with her daughter Tamara. Geralt did, however, receive a detailed description of the missing woman. Anna was a comely 40-something woman with green eyes and hair dark as raven wings, which she kept tied in a tight bun behind her head. Geralt discovered that Anna's marital life had not been working out as well as she might have hoped. She had recently been pregnant, but lost her child for unknown reasons shortly before her disappearance. When Geralt pushed the Baron about the matter, the ugly truth finally came out. Desperate and mistaken, Anna had fled, taking Tamara with her after her drunken husband beat her badly. The Baron was convinced Anna had miscarried because of his actions, but Geralt was not so certain about this. He couldn't stop thinking about the strange talisman meant to ward off evil power Anna had received from the Peller. During their heart-to-heart, the Baron gave Geralt a somewhat clearer image of the Strenger's married life. While her husband was off leading military campaigns, Anna would seek comfort in the arms of a childhood friend. Once the Baron discovered the truth, he fell into an indescribable fury and killed Anna's lover, something which, predictably enough, further deepened the chasm separating the couple. The situation grew even more entangled when Geralt discovered that, after fleeing Crow's Perch, Anna had been taken captive by some gigantic beast who carried her off into the darkness. As if that weren't horror enough, eyewitness testimony claims her hands had burned with strange glowing symbols shortly before this. Perhaps this was precisely what the talisman Anna had received from the Peller had been meant to guard against. Geralt put the facts together and realized the old woman in the swamps was in fact Anna, the Baron's missing wife. He also learned that the signs on her hands were symbols of the pact she had made with the crones in order to get rid of her unwanted child. Anna was found in the end, but the events she had witnessed and took part in had left such a deep mark on her body and mind that she would never again be the same. Her mind had quite simply cracked under the weight of it all, dropping her into an abyss of horror and despair. Geralt's suspicions were confirmed shortly after. The curse afflicting the unfortunate woman was indeed the crones' doing. Anna had turned to the ghastly sisters because she did not wish to give birth to the Baron's child. The crones granted her wish in their own twisted way, with a curse which made the fetus inside her wither on the vine, taking Anna's life energy with it. In despair, she turned to the Peller, who made her a talisman to hamper the evil magic's influence. Anna had lost this during her fight with the Baron, and was thus rendered defenseless against the crone's magic. After that, the worst was free to happen. The markings on her palms began to burn, and a fiend dragged her to the heart of the Crookback Bog, where she paid back her debt as the crone's slave. Next is Arnvald. After Guthlaf, trusted seneschal to the Great Jarls, passed away, a portion of his duties were taken over by the Jarl's cupbearer Arnvald. This elderly Skelliger did not possess the far-reaching authority of his predecessor, but still had managed to make himself irreplaceable in his few years in the position. His purview included not only stocking the larders and cellars of Kertrold, but also seeing to the needs of the keep's inhabitants, as well as the guests that visited it during feasts and other important ceremonies. That is why his betrayal could not have come as a greater surprise. When caught, Arnvald confessed to his role in the murderous conspiracy, revealing his patron as well as his long-seething hatred for Clan Ancrate. Next is Auberon. Auberon Mirsetach, also known as King of the Alders, was ruler of the far-off land of Tirnalia, the world which is home to Avallac'h and the Wild Hunt. He died after being poisoned by Eredin Breaclas, who then declared himself king. At the time of his death, Auberon had been exhausted and embittered by over 650 years of living. Next is Avallac'h. The being trapped within Uma's tortured husk turned out to be Avallac'h, a powerful sage of the Anel elves. Geralt had made his acquaintance years before. Already during these prior encounters, Avallac'h had displayed an intense and frankly rather unnerving interest in the elder blood and its bearer Ciri. His exact motives were unclear at the time, and he had made no particular effort to explain them to Geralt. Geralt likewise had no idea what bound Ciri and the elf now. There was no doubt Avallac'h had helped her, had saved her numerous times from the Wild Hunt, but why? Alas, the sage, quivering on the razor's edge between life and death, offered no answers to Geralt's burning questions. He did, however, muster enough strength to utter a crucial piece of information, Ciri's location. When Geralt got a chance to talk to Ciri about Avallac'h, he learned that the sage had been her tutor and mentor for some time. They were bound by a common enemy, Avallac'h had been the chief advisor to the previous ruler of the Anabelle, whose demise had precipitated a conflict between Avallac'h and the successor Eredin. The sage had thus made it his mission to protect Ciri from his new king's malicious designs, whatever the cost. Ciri made it clear to Geralt that she trusted the sage. He had saved her life on numerous occasions, including when, feeling the onset of the curse that would transform him into Uma, he resolved to hide her from the wild hunt on the Isle of Mists. Avallac'h played a key role in staving off defeat during the defense of Kaer Morhen. After the battle, he advised the Witcher that ultimate victory over Eredin and his ghastly cavalcade would only be possible with magic assistance. That meant Geralt would have to once again pact with members of the infamous Lodge of Sorceresses. Seizing the calm before the storm, Avallac'h tried once more to teach Ciri to control her incredible talent. He soon found that Ciri was as stubborn a pupil as she was gifted, something that Geralt had discovered for himself much earlier. Drawing on his knowledge of internal Anabelle politics and the strengths and weaknesses of the Wild Hunt's commanders, Avallac'h crafted a plan to eliminate one of Eredin's most powerful allies, his master of manipulation, Gels. In order to accomplish this, Avallac'h was willing to do anything, even risk a dangerous journey to Tirnalia. Geralt's trip to Avallac'h's laboratory confirmed that the sage was interested in Ciri and her genealogy. The elf they stumbled across in Avallac'h's laboratory claimed his interest in Ciri was purely pragmatic, and that he secretly loathed her for the human blood in her veins. Was Avallac'h truly so two-faced, or was the mysterious she-elf merely twisting his words to hurt Ciri? Avallac'h remained shockingly unperturbed when he heard Geralt and his companions had visited his secret laboratory. He openly admitted that he was interested in Laura's bloodline and in protecting her descendants. When they brought up the she-elf they came across in his lab, Avallac'h reacted with mild amusement, as if that particular subject was not worth treating seriously. Avallac'h played an active role in the war council preceding the luring of the Wild Hunt into their trap. During their discussions, he and Ciri briefly got into a heated argument because Avallac'h firmly insisted she not engage directly in the coming conflict. Eredin's last words sowed seeds of doubt in Geralt's heart, and Ciri and Avallac'h's sudden disappearance led them to spring into thorny shoots. Everything seemed to indicate that the sage had been pursuing a hidden goal the whole time, to open the gates between worlds. Next is Barnabas-Basil Foulty. I never noticed his last name, but that must be a reference to Basil Foulty from Fawlty Towers. Barnabas-Basil Foulty, the major domo of Corvo Bianco, was a gentleman's gentleman, if there's ever been one. His whole life he had served distinguished nobles, the Nibili family, for example, or Admiral Rompali for another, for he would never tolerate an employer who detracted from his personal dignity. Since Barnabas-Basil remembered the times of Monsieur Beaulius and Baron Rossel, He was a wellspring of anecdotes about the vineyard's past. He knew every corner and every secret of Corvo Bianco. An excellent administrator, he offered a wealth of good advice concerning the modernization and management of the estate. Geralt could not have hoped for better help. One could even say that by entrusting Corvo Bianco to the hands of that marvelous major domo, Anna Henrietta had given the Witcher the most beautiful present he'd ever received. For a home without someone capable to care for is no home at all. Okay, and the last one is Bart the Troll. Bart the Troll guarding Dijkstra's treasure could have been the poster boy for the latest craze among Novigrad's wealthy strata, a trend that had swept over everyone from bankers and merchants to underworld crime bosses. The fashion in question prized guards marked not just by fierce loyalty, but also by massive size, endless stamina, and crushing physical strength. A well-developed intellect, on the other hand, was considered unnecessary and quite possibly detrimental to the guard's performance. To be blunt, a good watchman should be brainless enough to render any thought of betraying his master impossible. That is why trolls, ogres, and as a last result, magic crossbreeds were highly prized for such roles. Okay, last minute decision. I decided to do 2 more to make it an even 10. So this next one is Birna. It can be difficult for a woman to gain the esteem of knights and warriors not accustomed to seeing female hands on the reins of power. It helps little when, like Birna, widow of King Bran of Skellige, the woman seeking power is filled with acrid disdain for her countrymen and their customs. One might argue that disdain is a valid reaction when, in the case of the passing of a man of power who embodies tradition, those customs call on her to follow long since outdated ritual and cast herself on her husband's funeral pyre. Justified or not, Birna's desire to rewrite age-old Skellige traditions put her at odds with the Jarls and made it unlikely she would be remembered alongside Calanthe of Sintra or Meve of Lyria as a successful and revered ruler. Birna likewise refused to hide her disgust with the customs of choosing a ruler by vote of the Jarls. She dreamed of establishing a hereditary kingship in Skellige and thought the ideal dynasty to hold it was her own, starting with her and Bran's son, the young Svanrig. In all probability, it was this longing for power that drove Birna to concoct the conspiracy that ended in the massacre at Kertrold. The evidence gathered by Geralt and Ceres sealed Birna's fate. Okay, and now really the last one for today, Blueboy Lugos. Madman Lugos' sole child and heir was a dour, strapping lad who was nothing like his father. His nickname dated from his childhood, when bruises often covered his body, supposedly from the rough and rowdy play Skellige boys engage in. Yet others suspect they came from his father's belt, rod, or fists, for rumor had it Lugos Sr. did not wish to spoil his only child, and thus punished him harshly for any minor cock-up or grander failure. The events Geralt witnessed in the Cave of Dreams confirmed rumors of Lugos' troubled relationship with his father, Blueboy's greatest fear turned out to be the madman in his family tree. Blueboy Lugos was one of the victims of the massacre that took place during the feast at Cairtrold. Later, people claimed he had knocked one of the beast's heads off by clobbering it with a barrel of beer. True or not, that is how the Skalds commemorate him in song to this day. Okay, that was it for this one. Next time we will pick up the reading with this little lad, the boot black. As always, thank you very much for watching and for listening, and I will talk to you next time.